We are back. Good morning from the office, North Georgia's only online radio show. Uh, Josh, will you please throw up that screen so that everybody can know how to follow the show? I am Derrick Grayson, also known as T-Mod. I am filling in for BKP, Brian K. Pritchard, and we have Josh sitting on the board as the engineer for this wonderful show. Thank you all for joining. Please follow the show on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. You can also find me on Facebook, TMOTOFGA, and YouTube. But of course, I am blocked on Facebook for 30 days. I'm also on Twitter with the same handle. And I am happy to be the guest host today for Brian. And again, please keep Brian and his family in prayer. Lift it up. Prayer changes things. Okay, so let's move on and talk about some other things. I want to get to some miscellaneous stories. Go ahead and pull up that Africa hoax link for me there, Josh, if you don't mind. And what I want you folk to understand about the Africa hoax, I don't know why I keep getting twisted on that, is this one thing. This came out of all of the hullabaloo about Trump and what he said in reference to go back to the country you came from. Now, I need to put that in context because many people saw that headline. They assumed that it was akin to go back to Africa. And that's not what it was about at all. But people read a headline and they focus on it. Now, it didn't help that at another rally, people started chanting, send her back, send her back, send her back. Trump, of course, said he didn't agree with that, but then they even found fault in that by saying, well, you didn't say it at the rally. Okay, so nothing is ever good enough that Trump does. Nothing, ever, not from the left. So now that is the context for this. So this woman, Representative Erica Thomas of Georgia, she went into a grocery store and got into the line that was for people with 10 or less, a fewer items. She had about 20. And so here is the truth in the story. And if you had taken time to seek out the video, you would have gotten the full story and then you would have had an understanding. So I'm going to give you those things that the left media is not covering. And I'm surprised that the right didn't go in detail as well. Oh, boy. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. So here is what happened. She gets into the line. More than the 10 items. Another customer, a gentleman who is Cuban, white man from Cuba, all right, goes over to the store rep and say, look, you know, why are you allowing this lady to get in a line with 20 items when it's clearly marked 10 items or less? And the store clerk said, we are told not to confront customers about that. But then she said, but you're free to. Okay, so I guess this cat said, well, I'll be your huckleberry. All right, I'll go and handle this for you. So he goes over to Thomas. All right. And the video that was pulled, it showed him pointing to the sign, telling her, basically, ma'am, I don't want to be rude, okay? But this line is for people with 10 items or less. Now, the way the story was presented was when he went over to her, he just immediately off the rip, hey, you lazy son of a bitch, go back to where you came from. That's not what happened. That's not how the story went. What actually happened was he went over, politely said, ma'am, I don't mean to be rude, but this line is for people with 10 items or less. And she proceeded to go off. Store footage shows it in the man's face. The man walked away, but she continued to go at him, saying rude and nasty things. And his response was, which he did not lie about, he told her, you lazy son of a bitch. Of course, you know, she's not a son, and I don't know anything about a mother. So I don't approve of what he said, but I understand that it was retaliatory. Okay. She's coming at him. He got some get back, but he did not say, go back to where you came from. That was a lie from the pit of hell. And she got away with it. And the reason I say she got away with it is because most people are not going to dig deep into the story to find out what actually happened. And that was a second interview where the man came forward to identify himself and said as much. Now, this woman, now I want y'all to hear me carefully on this. And I was kind of bewildered because I hear and see this all the time when she's making her video and doing her interview. As a woman of color, a pregnant one at that, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about that. Is as a woman of color more significant than a woman at all? I had a guy make a comment on my wall one day. He said, yeah, man, you know, I see what's going on. Colored people shouldn't be treated that way. And I said, what color are you talking about? Which one? Brown, red, yellow, white? Oh, white's a color too. So I've never understood, and I have never referred to myself as colored. Now, I call myself black or Negro, which is synonymous to black. You know, a lot of people think that Negro is derogatory when it simply means black. But anyway, I digress. So she goes as a woman of color as though it has more significance than just being a woman. And that is remarkable to me, that people take that and place more value on it than just being a woman. I remember, you know, women would say, well, I'm a strong black woman. I don't want a strong black woman. I just want a good one. All right. You know, I'll be strong for the family. All right. I'm not looking for somebody to compete with me in strength. All right. Strong character. Okay, cool. I'm good with that. Yeah, I want you to have good, strong moral character. All right. But this thing you're running around with, I'm a strong black woman simply because, you know, you're raising kids by yourself, kids by men that you weren't married to, which brings me to another point. She's pregnant and unmarried. What is that? And what do we know about most Negro females? They support abortion. So as a black woman and pregnant, is that to say I'm pregnant? And even though many of us support abortion, that's significant because I didn't abort my child. Now I congratulate her on that. But that didn't used to be nothing extra. When you got pregnant, the life of your child was of utmost importance. So to not go and lie down on an abortion table, you know, to me, that I think that's despicable. But to decide to keep your child and raise your child, I think that ain't nothing extra. That's just what you do. So as a black woman and pregnant, as though one is something extra and one is more significant. That just baffles my mind. But she is a representative and people elected her. But more importantly, I don't know anything about the woman personally, so I don't know if she supports abortion or not. I don't know. I do know and believe that, you know, she's cool with, you know, out of wedlock births. Hey, you know, I believe that a child is entitled to having both parents. That's just me. I'm old fashioned, but you know, times have changed, right? So, but to tell the lie, and she told the lie because of the fervor being made over Donald Trump's comment to the 4 twits, which was in context. If you are going to continue to complain about America, okay, it ain't what you think it ought to be, you know, terrible place to be. Go back to your countries. Fix them. Now, he didn't say stay. He said go back to your countries, fix them, then come back and show us how to do it. All right? Come, show us how to do it. Now, that's what Trump was saying in context, but that's not how the story is presented. And, of course, people go, oh, he's racist. Oh, that's racist. And so what I say to people, and you know, I try to help people. I don't mind going and getting 2 shovels, taking them in the backyard and digging to show them how to dig it so that they can savvy and grasp the reality of what's happening. So I went and got the definition of racist, and essentially it's where a person feels that based on race, he is superior to another race. That's essentially the definition of racism. And I say, show me any comment that Donald Trump has ever made or a video with the time mark where Donald Trump has said anything that fits the definition of a racist. I want to see it, but nobody can ever produce it because it doesn't exist. The term racist has been used so much that now it has no meaning. But I, for one, will continue to understand what the word racist means. And I will always stick with that definition. It's like when I hear Negroes refer to each other as nigger or nigga, I tell them the word is derogatory. It will never be a term of endearment for me. So I don't call people that. And I will not allow them to address me in that way. Negro, black, Mr., Derrick, T-Mott, man, they're all fine. They're all fine. Those words have meaning. They are not derogatory. All right? But this label that they have affixed to Donald Trump is mind-boggling. 30 years ago, Donald Trump receiving awards, Lifetime Achievement Awards, awards for helping blacks, Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, all of the race baiters, NAACP, Oprah, all were good with Donald Trump when Donald Trump was availing his money to help them. He was good then. But because he dared to run for president, because he won, and because he dared to do something for everybody, including blacks, the audacity for him to do it while under the Republican banner. How dare he? Got to understand something. 95 to 98% of Negroes are Democrat, period. No ifs, ands, or buts. When you tell them the truth about the Democrat past, don't want to hear it. They shut down. Cognitive dissonance at its best. And we got some in the Republican Party. You tell them about these rhinos, they don't want to hear it. You tell them David Perdue once said of Karen Handel, and she's a rhino too, but I didn't agree with what he said. Hey, she's a high school, she only has a high school education. I went to college. You need somebody that's got understanding and knows how to deal with these complex issues. Wrong. Wrong. That's your hubris. That's you looking down your nose at someone else. You're basically saying, if you didn't go to college like I did, you aren't smart enough to be a senator. You aren't smart enough to go to Washington, D.C. You got to have somebody like me. Forget about his voting record. That should have made everybody that heard that say, oh, hell no, this man ain't getting my vote. Those people in Washington, D.C. are not your leaders. They are your servants. Public servants sent to serve you by representing you and protecting your constitutional rights. That's their job. Stop looking for a leader. Lead your own lives. Of course, I always tell people there's no better leader for you than Jesus Christ. I just had to throw that in. So we've got these people who are so upset that at Donald Trump that they are willing to lie. And this is a Georgia representative. A Georgia representative that told this lie. You lazy son of a bitch, go back to Africa. Wow. Just imagine. Let's go to the next story. Facebook fine. If you don't mind, Josh, will you put that up on the screen for me? This is significant. A lot of people don't understand that. Facebook has been fined $5 billion over what they have been doing or what they did when it came to violating our privacy. On top of that, they are being forced to engage an external board, one that does not work for them, to oversee that they do not violate policy in the future and that they are complying with the new law. On top of that, Zuckerberg must certify that they are not violating our privacy. Okay? And this applies not only to Facebook, but all of social media platforms. That includes Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. So look for changes. They can't be doing stuff like using facial recognition, passwords to identify you, or phone numbers. You know, they had decided at one point to start selling your phone numbers to bill collectors, collection agencies, when they do their skip tracing. That's right. All of that is being shut down. So I was happy to hear that. Some people, oh, big deal. That is a big deal. And if you don't understand, I could go on eBay, search for a product. Okay. Just search. Go back to Facebook. And as I'm going down my news feed, I would see that product in my news feed. I say, no, wait a minute. What's going on here? So I ran a little test, did it again. Went back to my news feed. Bam! There it is again. They were taking my information and sharing it across the board so that advertisers, because I didn't buy over there on eBay, throw it back in my face again. But of course, you could see it all over the place, and who knows what else they had going on. What else we got going? Let's talk about Mr. Biden. Oh boy, now Mr. Biden is a good one. Brian, Josh, please pull up the link on Mr. Joe Biden and let's talk about this clown. Joe Biden decided, well, everybody else is offering the Negro something. I need to offer him something too. So, you know, we've got the Cory Booker, the Heels Up Harris. We've got Elizabeth Warren. We got Beto, Buttigieg. All of these folks are offering everything in the moon to illegals. And of course, the same old storyline for the Negroes. Okay, nothing new there. They always, you know, we got your best interests at heart. We know what's best for you. That's a standard. But they're after a new group now, and that's those who come into this country illegally. Some of them have mentioned reparations, and if you know what reparations are, oh yeah, we treated you badly, so now we're going to pay you some loot, okay, for your pain and suffering. The only problem is it would be kind of hard to do reparations for many obvious reasons. In other words, who are actually the victims today? You know, we've got intermixing of the races. How are you going to determine who is entitled to reparations, right? Anyway, so Donald Trump, and this is strange, I talked about Donald Trump's achievements. One of those was signing into law the criminal justice reform bill, which is undoing many wrongs done under the 3 strikes you're out, and it's called the First Step Act. Now, of course, it didn't stop Tucker Carlson from going on Fox and, of course, lambasting it, saying, oh, we aren't getting what we are doing. Just another veiled attack on Donald Trump. But at any rate, and I always said, many of the conservatives have largely been ineffective in Washington, D.C. because of the infestation of the GOP with rhinos, in other words, Democrats. That being said, they haven't been able to get anything done. Rand Paul tried to get criminal justice reform passed under Obama. So wasn't happening. Okay? Just wasn't happening. Obama wasn't pushing it. Obama wasn't trying to hear it. Obama had another agenda, and that was the alphabet soup sex group. Okay, pushing that agenda. All right. That and Obamacare, and of course, moving along with the same policies that Bush had put in place, taking us towards globalism, endless wars, not doing anything about immigration in terms of fixing it and things of that nature. That's what we got from Obama. So there was nothing out there about criminal justice reform. So now let's talk about Joe Biden. What is he offering? Well, I didn't hear him say anything about reparations because I think he already knows, you know what? I already know that ain't happening. Why tell that lie and I win? Because that is who the left and rhinos want. Joe Biden is an establishment Democrat, and he is going to go down the party line, okay, globalism, and he's not way out to the left. And the Pelosi wing of the Democrat Party, they don't want those extremists over on the very far left coming in with their extreme and overt socialist agenda. The reason I say it is extreme and overt, they make no qualms about it. They make none. Rhinos are covert. They make you believe that they are conservatives, but they are not. And Democrats want you to think that they are centrists, but both of them are moving towards globalism. But the extreme left, the 4 twits, they want to do it now. And they want you to know that they're doing it. So what is Joe Biden doing to try and offset his opponents on the left? He is now going to reform his criminal justice bill, the original one from '94, the one that he drafted. Now, here's something that you don't hear Fox talking about. You don't hear the left. I have seen some media outlets talk about it, but I'm going to tell you, Joe Biden fought to keep schools segregated. Yes, he did with Robert Byrd. And they aren't like they should. Now, with that being said, Joe Biden is offering to reform criminal justice, the criminal justice system. Wait a minute. That was already done by Donald Trump. What are you reforming, Mr. Biden? Same old trick. Another carrot with a stick behind it for the Negro. That's it. There ain't nothing else to be done, Mr. Biden. So why are you coming out with that carrot now? Why weren't you telling Robert Byrd, go somewhere and sit down in West Virginia when you were trying to help him keep schools segregated? Why weren't you fighting against that back then? Why weren't you denouncing your past acts instead of saying, well, we work with the racists of the day. We got things done, because that's where all the controversy started that, Heels Up and Booker tried to use against him or used against him. And the point he was trying to make was, we got along with the racists and the conservatives. All right. That's what he was saying. Okay, well, if you got along with them, more power to you. Paul did say, if you aren't going to see things eye to eye, at least let there be peace. So I'm not necessarily mad with that. And we do have racists in this country, black and white, because there are blacks who think that they are better than white people, but nobody will tell you that because of the lie that Dick Gregory put out there. Well, a black man can't be racist because we have no economic power. Biggest load of horse crap I ever heard of, because nobody will actually go and take time to read the definition of what a racist is in the first place. But that's your boy, Joe Biden. And before we get to the last segment, we are going to take one more break, and then we will come back and close the show out. I want to talk about the 4 twits. Well, in particular, one of them, the Talib woman. So, Josh, let's take a break.